Alright, we are live. Let's see now. The patch notes were just released. Let's check them out, especially from the. Okay, I forgot to tune this down. Anyway, so we are live. The patch notes were just released, and let's check them out, especially from the hardcore necromancer perspective. Okay, so let's see. It's patch 1.30. It's expected to hit all platforms January 24th. For whatever reason, Blizzard math and I don't know, anything is not really good lately. How come the season starts on January 23rd and they released the patch on January 24th? Not a good start, guys. I can tell you this. But anyway, let's see. Uh, Class updates. They first start with class updates. It's important to us that when a player chooses to fully invest in a skill, the payoff is immense. Right, because we currently have to constantly respec for different activities, and that pretty much sucks. The other way around is to maybe get different characters to the appropriate level to do those different activities, or constantly also swap gear and stuff. It's, I don't know, kind of annoying, but okay, let's see. In pursuit of this goal, several of our new unique and legendary items are targeting skills that have yet to reach their full potential. Yeah, sure, lots of underused skills, I bet you that. We're excited to see what players accomplish with our new unique items for Barbarians, Rend Druids, Lightning Storm, and Sorcerer Meteor. Not things that I play, I might wanna try them, but you know, it's not something that I like in general. But just because I don't like it doesn't mean I can't, okay? We're also targeting some pressing issues for each class. Necromancers with Cult Leader should see their minions strike a bit harder. Barbarians should feel that 3 shouts are shouldn't feel that 3 shouts are a requirement for their success, which I highly doubt. And a sorcerer applying vulnerable with lightning spear should open new build opportunities. Okay, probably. There are also class updates to items and skills that are underperforming, such as the rogue's ranged unique items and the necromancer's golem. Yeah, golems generally suck. Okay, let's see. All classes, new items. Paragoner's Gauntlet, unique gloves, damaging enemies with a cast non-basic skill marks them for 3 seconds. When a basic skill first hits a marked enemy, the basic skill damage is echoed to all marked enemies, dealing increased damage. Okay, interesting. Okay, aspect of adaptability. That's a utility aspect. When cast below 50% maximum resource, basic skill generate 3 of your primary resource once per cast. Okay. When cast at or above 50% maximum resource, basic skills deal increased damage. Okay, interesting. Let's see, Adam Jackson is posting that the patch notes are up, but I'm already discussing them, so. Juggernaut aspect, defensive. Gain armor, but your evade has increased cooldown. Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. That could be interesting, but probably they mean what? Just percent? I don't know. 0.75 to 1.5 armor per watt. That if it's just that, it's nothing. It should be per something like percent. I don't know. Okay, the usual bullshit. Blizzard. Item updates. A ring of starless skies. The unique power has been changed. Previous casting a core skill reduces resource cost of your core skills by 12% up to maximum of 40% resets upon using a non-core skill. Spending resources. The new. Okay, this is the new. Spending resources reduces your resource cost and increases your damage by 10% multiplicatively for 3 seconds up to 40%. That sounds better actually. But this ring, I wouldn't count on it dropping anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. Offensive aspect of the expectant damage bonus now has a 5-second duration to be used. Uh, Damage bonus now has a 5-second duration to be used. Okay, that's the change. Melted Heart of Selig. Okay, another thing which I wouldn't count on dropping, but okay, let's see. All stats is increased. I think they can do us a really good favor if this is movement speed instead of the all stats here. It's pretty much a bullshit affix, if you ask me, because you can get it elsewhere, like on the weapon, on the offhand. Uh, Yeah, mostly on the weapon and on the offhand. That's where I usually get it, because on the other slots I can get more useful affixes I could not get elsewhere, right? Because you can get, for example, all stats on a helmet, which is absolutely not a good idea. You can also get all stats on armor, on a chest piece, and on the pants, which are usually better reserved for only defensive affixes. Okay? Core skill damage changed to, yeah. I was saying, okay, but the core skill damage was a good thing. They should have swapped it with this. Anyway, damage while healthy is increased 3 times. That's good. Unique power changed. Gain maximum resource. In addition, when you take damage, drain resource for every 1% of life you would have lost instead. That's cool. That was really cool. New gains 60 maximum resource, 75% incoming damage, drains 2 resource for every 1% life you would have lost instead. Oh, that's actually better now. And unfortunately, it won't provide core skill damage anymore, and I think they kinda messed it up. Let's see, overpower. Really important, because I intend on starting with a Blood Surge Necromancer, which is really easy to be converted to a bosser by just swapping to Blood Lance, right? Overpower attacks now gain plus 1% damage, down from plus 2% per 1% of your base life you have in Fortify. That's quite the nerf, guys. We'll see, but probably we're gonna still be able to speed farm and speed level with Blood Surge and kill bosses with Blood Lance. And let's not forget also my favorite, the Bone Spear. It's probably every Necromancer's favorite, because they are familiar with Bone Spear from the other Diablo games. Okay. Overpower attacks now gain 1% damage, down from 2% per 1% of your base life that you have in bonus life above your base life. Guys, this is quite the nerf. But okay. I mean, that's normal. It was really, really powerful. Maybe they know what they're doing, maybe not. We'll find out when we play test it. Probably even like a couple hours after the season starts, we'll probably know, because at that time we'll probably be already on nightmares, spamming nightmare dungeons and this new dungeon type after leveling the glyphs, of course. And we'll probably see this change in effect. I'll be able to tell better after playtesting it, but it sounds like quite the nerf. That's like 100% nerf. Anyway, Barbarian. I don't think I should go into Barbarian much. Probably I'm gonna skip those things. Seems like a lot. Druid is going to be interesting this season because of the new gloves, the new unique gloves about Lightning Storm. So if you haven't discovered Lightning Storm yet, I totally recommend playing a Druid with Lightning Storm. Now, Lightning Storm will also be not only a good skill for leveling, but also for speed farming. And guess what? Because it's multi-target for probably nothing else. So make sure to check this if you are new to Druid or if you know what I'm talking about. Let's generally skip this. Like I said, I'm mostly gonna focus on the Necromancer perspective and especially the hardcore Necromancer perspective. Right. Uh, okay, let's see. New items displayed. It means probably it's going to be a chest piece. Armor. Okay. You are blood lanced, and when blood lance would deal damage to you, it instead fortifies you for. Wow. It sounds amazing so far. And would deal damage to you, it instead fortifies you for 1 to 2% of your maximum life and has a 5% chance to form a blood orb. Wow. Blood lance deals increased damage. Maybe that's gonna be good for like bossing and stuff. But in general, if you're playing a blood build, what I would recommend would be uh, I already made a video about it, but I would recommend Soulbrand and Temerity to constantly keep the barrier up. So also you will not have to use the seasonal pet, the construct's powers, the governing stones, which provide those things you can get elsewhere, right? Or unless you like take lots of damage and you want to, for example, keep the fortify or keep the barrier up all the time, especially having in mind we will not be having the undying vampiric power this season, so things might change a bit. We'll have to play test it and find out depending on playstyle and damage taken and situation in general, but I think that's going to be a really good blood lance item. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to be a chest piece, and by doing so, we will probably lose a lot of total armor, damage reduction, and maximum life. So survivability will be kind of an issue here, but I'm guessing that's not gonna be that much needed when bossing, because this is a blood lance item, and blood lance is not so good in speed farming, speed leveling, and things like that. Okay, let's see this new offensive aspect, Shattered Spirit offensive aspect. Okay, they were talking about this on the developer live stream update. I believe that this is quite the upgrade to this passive, to this bonus of this legendary power, because you no longer need to be in a very large distance from the enemies you want to hit with Bone Spirit. Bone Spirit is a really good bosser skill as well, as we all probably know, especially when combined with the Lord's Amulet and let's say Bone Spirit on the boots and also Bone Spirit on the chest from the artisan. It could drastically increase, especially with the Dominate glyph, it can drastically increase the damage. It can do millions and millions of damage. It can even one-shot the Echo of Lilith. It's that powerful. So having in mind this, casting Bone Spirit also launches bone splinters in all directions, dealing damage, right? Generating essence. That's gonna be insane, because the main problem of Bone Spirit is that it consumes all the essence, and you have only two options: to either increase its critical strike damage or to get some essence in return in order to keep attacking. Now, this will totally change how the game is played with Bone Spirit. I'm probably gonna do a separate build, maybe my third or fourth character for the season, to test this out. It sounds very interesting and definitely something I want to do, but maybe on some kind of out, like I said, maybe after week one, maybe it's gonna be like my third or fourth character or something. We'll see. But definitely something I want to try. Okay, Iron Maiden. Damage increased. That's awesome. Especially for close combat when you play Blood Surge for leveling, speed farming, etc. That's gonna clear everything much faster. I know it doesn't sound like much, but especially when you're in close combat, you can definitely feel this. Horrid Iron Maiden, bonus damage increased. Okay, that's totally cool. Corpse Explosion. Okay, that's not good. Corpse Explosion, lucky hit chance is drastically reduced. Um, I I I don't know what to say, but especially Shadow Necromancers are going to feel this very heavily because it's almost doubled down. Or no, it's not really good way to say it, but it's double nerfed, I guess, from 40% to 25%, and I don't really. I don't know. I think it's going to be a huge problem, but especially, like I said, Shadow Necromancers, which usually work a lot on lucky hit, and maybe also some Bloodlands builds work a lot on lucky hit to be able to spawn more Blood Orbs. But maybe they chose to do this because of the new Bloodlands item. I just have no idea how are they going to address this for the shadow builds. Let's see. Let's read down and see what's going on. Base damage is increased. Yeah, that's, I don't know. Maybe Corpse Explosion, in my opinion, is mostly good for leveling, speed farming, things like that. But in the end, in the harder stuff, its damage becomes quite irrelevant unless you play Corpse build, which requires too many uniques, which deprives you of important legendary aspects. And maybe we'll see how this works with this damage increase. Blighted Corpse Explosion damage is decreased. Yeah, okay, but they increased the overall damage initially, so probably it will not be felt as much. We'll see. Blight damage over time is increased, so maybe Blight could actually be a playable build now to build around Blight. We'll have to see. Okay, Sever. Initial damage is increased, return damage is increased. So this is something I also want to play, but probably if I only manage to get Doombringer. Otherwise, it wouldn't make much of a difference from this Sever Reaper Necromancer that I did the previous season. So I already played this. It's maybe only good for bossing around and pretty much nothing else. It's the other problem with Sever is that it makes enemies vulnerable like every third time, and we don't really have much of a defense there. It's a very offensive build, and you have to rely mostly on evade because you need to have okay, let's see, Reap, Sever, two of the curses in order to drastically increase the damage with the legendary power. I think it was of the Damned, which increases the damage quite a lot, especially if you place it on a two-hander or on the amulet. But maybe I can try it again. We'll see about that. Bone Spirit. Let's see. This damage is increased by 4% per essence spent casting Bone Spirit. What? Up to yeah, Blizzard math. It's increased. Maybe they wanted to say 30%, not 3. Okay, let's see. Dreadful Bone Spirit now restores 30% of your maximum essence instead of a flat 30 essence. Okay, I think that's a good addition to what it used to be, especially with this new legendary power about Bone Spirit. It sounds like something to definitely try. Now the combat will not be so much interrupted, and you could also count more on your generator basic skill because of those changes above we were also discussing here. Let's see, Acolytes Decompose. Previous, you and your minions deal 10% damage multiplicatively, increase damage to enemies being decomposed. Okay. The new one is every 1.5 seconds, Decompose makes enemies vulnerable. For 4 seconds. Oh, that's better. That's much better. Because vulnerable with dots, and especially vulnerable and dots and damage to injured and damage to healthy might actually make the shadow builds way more powerful than both the bone builds and the blood builds. that's that's interesting. Um, Maybe it could be played very well with Blight now that we know that Blight's damage has also increased. We'll see. Initiates Decompose. Previous used to slow enemies. Yeah, this was really cool, especially having in mind those passives for shadow builds. Let's see the new one. Decompose slows enemies, and if you channel Decompose for at least 1.5 seconds, which could make them vulnerable for 4 seconds, you gain movement speed for 5 seconds after ending the channel. Okay, that sounds like something to test. We'll see. Dreadful Blood Mist. Previous Blood Mist fortifies you for 0.5% of your maximum life each time it hits an enemy. You gain 10% critical strike chance for 4 seconds after Blood Mist ends. Oh, okay. So, guess what? So maybe now Blood Mist is not gonna be that bad after all. I usually consider this quite the bullshit skill because, come on, give me a break. You are a necromancer. You are and should be your enemy's worst nightmare. They should be wondering what is happening to them while slowly dying and still not managing to figure it out. And now, with increased critical strike damage, this could even make the bone builds more viable if you use the blood mist. I'm guessing that could be more useful for boss fights. Otherwise, why? Because everything dies when you just press the button. It wouldn't make much of a difference. Maybe only on boss fights though. We'll see. Might have to test this. But in general, probably if you're building around critical strike, you should be able to get it to a decent amount even without this. So, and especially having in mind those new constructs, those new pets, they're gonna be able to increase our critical strike chance as well. Right, with the right settings, of course. For example, if you use a governing stone which does something to your character, and also add the tuning stone for critical strike. Okay, I'm guessing that's how it's gonna work. Bone Prison. Friendly players and minions can now freely pass through Bone Prison walls. I think that's complete bullshit. Let me tell you why. Bone Prison is actually one of the best necromancer skills. Why? Because you can have you can have enemies attack the Bone Prison instead of you. No matter it can reduce your damage reduction because of the standalone, I think it was passive. But now with this, your stupid minions will probably just go die when passing through the bomb prison. And you will no longer be able to use the bomb prison as some kind of barrier which your minions could use to shoot enemies from distance. And especially having in mind how the minions and curses work together, like you curse the enemy and the minions are more inclined to attack this enemy instead. Now, it's just easier to send your minions to certain death. I don't know how that's any good. But for maybe for friendly players, I have no idea how stupid the friendly players of the ones requesting this feature are, but friendly players, and I'm saying this because I mostly play solo self-found hardcore. Maybe I only do dual rotations to increase my chance, but anyway, how bad it is to actually use an evade or some mobility skill to get out of the bomb prison. And why get in the bomb prison in the first place? Probably the necromancer playing and entrapping allies is not really a good necromancer. And I don't know why all the necromancers should suffer for the stupidity of several. If this was a real situation here, it would probably not end well for those who are the weaker ones. Let's see, let's move on. The functionality of Enhanced Bomb Prison and Ghastly Bomb Prison have been swapped. So, one of them grants you vulnerable, makes enemies inside the prison vulnerable, and the other one grants you fortify. I would stick with the fortify one, no matter what, even if I'm all the time fortified. Anyway, enhanced bomb prison. Enemies inside bomb prison are vulnerable. Okay. What? Ah, okay, enhanced. So now they're vulnerable no matter what. Let's see what the ghastly one. The enemy trapped by bomb prison gain 25 essence plus an additional. So you can do, instead of getting the essence, you can make them vulnerable and get, instead of essence, also get fortified. That's just bad. That's just bad. That's stupid, guys. Blizzard, you are idiots. I can tell you that. That's a ridiculous change. Zeiss does not approve. That's complete bullshit right here. I am really annoyed because of this change. It's really stupid. Previous fortify, okay, dreadful bomb prison. Fortify for 8% of your maximum life, and each enemy trapped by bomb prison. Yeah, that was the cool thing when combined with getting essence, not with making them enemies vulnerable, because you can make enemies vulnerable with corpse tendrils. You can make enemies vulnerable with the bone splinters. And if you play a blood build, you will mostly focus on overpower, not on vulnerable. Let's see the new one. Reduce all your active cooldowns by 0.5% seconds, 0.5 seconds for each enemy trapped by bomb prison. So this means we still cannot spam bomb prison like in Diablo 2, for example, but still. So we either get here the... That's a huge problem, guys. We no longer get fortified when using bomb prison. That's a huge problem right there. Let me tell you why. And why I don't approve of this change. This will make the bone builds suffer tremendously, because the bone builds usually focus on being fragile and delivering massive amounts of damage. So, how bone builds used to work for now is either use, for example, a two-hander sword or a wand with a shield. The problem now is that your defenses will be further destroyed, right? The bone builds and pretty much all the builds using the bone prison as it was intended to are going to be much weaker because of it was a really good source to get fortified and also to have enemies attack the bomb prison instead of you. And now, on top of this, the bomb prison will also reduce the damage reduction, and it will not fortify, and I'm guessing the bomb builds would be even more fragile. And especially having in mind that The defenses are significant problem in this game because healing is not effective. Many things either just don't do much damage to you or no damage at all, or they have the potential to one-shot you. And now this is going to be made much easier for them. So, boo Blizzard for being stupid again. Okay? That's that's what I have to say. I don't. It's really hard for me to accept this change, but it is what it is. Let's see the passive ossified essence. Yeah, they nerfed it too much. Let's see what they did this time. Now displays the correct bonus on the tooltip. Alright, now displays the correct bonus on the tooltip. This makes me wonder, when do we get to play the full game? Finally. I'm guessing maybe after 10 seasons and 2 or 3 expansions. I don't know. I can say that. It's not going to be anytime soon. Let's see what they changed in the Book of the Dead. This is really important, as every necromancer should pay very special attention to this, as it can drastically change the build. Golems. When golems finish casting their active ability, they will first try to target a new close enemy before reverting to their previous target. That's a good change. That's a good change. But who the fuck plays golems? Come on, give me a break. Blood Golem and Iron Golem basic attacks now hit enemies in an area around the main target. Yeah, like the Bone Golem. Bone Golem active ability now grants the Golem taunts equal to 70% of your armor for the duration of the taunt. Sounds good if you play Golems, but let me tell you this. If you wanna go do the hardest content of the game, and if you use Golem, even with the Golem Paragon board, what will happen is going to be this. You enter a fight, your golem dies in half a second, and then it takes like 20 seconds for the golem to show up again and die in half a second again. And this is going to happen over and over and over and over again. The golem is quite useless. That's the truth, guys. Let's just not lie to ourselves right here. Let's see. Bone Mage. Upgrade now fortifies based on your maximum life instead of base life. What? That's I think they're trying to say when the bone skeleton mage does damage which is higher than its current life, because every time the bone mage is casting its spells, it damages itself as well. Probably that's what they meant. Okay, skeleton priest. Healing increased. Yeah, healing increased, but who cares? This maybe could work. We'll have to see. But in general, this is only good while leveling, I think. Maybe till like level 30 something. After that, I didn't notice it to make any huge difference. But I remember while leveling, especially the blood builds, and just putting 1 point to the healing of the priest, it can drastically change the survivability. But I really doubt this could have any significant effect on the end game whatsoever. And for now, this patch sounds like some people who have no idea what they're doing again, and I don't think I should give them much more chances, many more chances. But you know what they say? Let's play test it and then talk again, right? Okay, let's see. The Paragon changes. Cult Leader, Legendary, Paragon Note. Previous, your minions deal... Let me be straight here. They only focus on damage, 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 damage. Everything is about damage. Focus, please, on some survivability. Why do I say this? It's not because I play only hardcore. It's just stupid to focus only on damage, damage, damage and glass cannoning whatsoever. It's as if This game is only played in extremely well-made parties made of pros who explicitly know what they're doing. Well, let me tell you this, it's not. So those changes are maybe addressed to some kind of majority of cases, but I highly doubt it. They're probably doing most of this by some kind of statistics gathering. And they say, okay, this is used 2% more than that, let's focus there. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Anyway, let's read it through. Your minions deal 50% increased damage to each minion type you have active. Okay, and let's see, the new one is minions deal 10% increased damage for each 20% of attack speed bonus they have. Oh. Okay, but the problem is they only get 30% of your own attack speed. They don't inherit enough for this to make a significant difference here. Right. I'm pretty sure now at this point that Blizzard will not need 9,000 people to work on this game. It will need 90,000 people to work on this game. Golem. Additional bonus change from 25% health to 25% damage. Again, guys, what is wrong with these people? They seem to lack basic understanding of their own game. The main problem in this game is survivability, and they keep focusing on more damage, everything more damage. And the funny thing is, let's take it to account Barbarian. Barbarian is currently in this season over 1,000 times stronger than the other classes. Well, maybe not by the by the bugged druid, but what they did is instead of fixing this and provide more opportunities for other classes, they made the stupid fucking barbarian even stronger. What is wrong with you people? What the fuck is wrong with you? I have no idea. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. Oh, item updates. Aspect of Swelling Curse. Previous, the Bone Spirit deals increased damage based on distance. Okay, and the new one, I remember they showed this in the developer life update, but the new aspect is critical strike chance is increased. And with the new other changes of Bone Spirit, it can actually make it viable even for the end game, and you can also rely like way more on your basic generator skill now because of these changes. This one included. Torturous aspect, okay, they changed that. It was really good, especially for shadow builds. Enemies affected by your Iron Maiden have chance to be stunned for 1 second. Let's see what is it now. Is now also a darkness skill that deals shadow damage. Yeah, makes sense because they weren't dealing much damage in general. So let's see. Enemies affected by Iron Maiden have chance to be stunned. It's the same, but now also deals damage. Okay. It's pretty much the same, except it also deals damage. Okay, we'll see. Maybe this could be really good with what was it? The aspect of the damned, which allows you to double your shadow damage, basically, when using both curses. Rotting aspect. Chance to spawn additional corpses increased. I see where they're going with this. They don't want you to imprint this on the amulet or on the two-hander. That's why. Okay, makes sense. Hulking aspect changed to reduce Golem's active cooldown is increased. Okay, but not with much, it just doubled. Chance to spawn corpse increased. That's quite the something here. Especially having in mind that the lucky hit chance of corpse explosion is drastically reduced. Maybe this is how they plan to mitigate the issue that they are causing by their own change. You know, those emergent effects, they're probably gonna feel them really strongly. Like it's gonna hit them real hard during this season. And I'm pretty sure they're going to regret most of what they changed. I don't want to read for the other classes, but I'm pretty sure the players who are most adept in the other classes would say the same for their main class, right? It just doesn't seem right. Let's keep the rogue, and let's keep the sorcerer, and I could probably get back to this when because I definitely would like to try the druid and maybe okay, so the lightning storm druid and the meteor sorcerer. If I get too bored, maybe at the end of season. Let's see, what do we have here? Gameplay and game activities. The change about the Hell Tide. Hell Tide will now be active every hour on the hour with a 5-minute gap in between. Hell Tide will be active 55 minutes of every hour. That's okay-ish. That's new. But it's kind of a problem. You know that it's gonna start every hour, right? Every hour on the hour. So this means the areas where we get a Hell Tide starting on the 15 minutes, say Kyrgyzstan, it has 3 areas. That means if it starts on the 15th minute, you'll be able to get 6 chests. I don't know. The good thing is it's gonna have Hell Tide every hour, but let's see. Players can have more consistency. So players can more consistently acquire Distilled Fear with reward how Distilled Fear is collected from Nightmare Dungeons. Let me ask you this. Who the fuck needs Distilled Fear? This is for the Beast of the Ice. It doesn't drop anything good. Maybe the Ring of Mendeln, which you can get elsewhere. Maybe Black River. Maybe Howl from Below, which you probably get on many easier to get locations. I don't know. It's every 10 tiers after tier 30, there's increasing chance for additional Distilled Fear. Let me tell you what this item is good for. To sell it at the vendor. Like we used to say in Diablo 2, send it to Akara, right? Completing tier 90 Nightmare Dungeons and beyond will always grant 3. What are we going to do with this? Is this boss going to finally drop something useful? Because I don't see this anywhere. I don't know. Okay. The Purified Sigil reward for completing a Nightmare Dungeon will now always grant 1 Sigil tier greater than a Nightmare Dungeon just completed. Okay, that's new. Interesting. Alright, let's see. Scroll of Escape. Item, Scroll of Escape. Now will populate in the lost items stash if the player missed one that was dropped. That's actually pretty neat. Because it could happen. It's with white text. And I'm guessing most of what people were looking for in the white text is the gold. And if there are many items on the ground, you can actually miss the scroll of escape, especially if you're not careful. But let me tell you this, maybe especially in the early game, it's also useful to watch out for white two-handed items. Like, for example, for the Necromancer, the two-handed scythe. Because they are very, very expensive, especially the ancestral white ones. They can cost up to 40-50k per white item at the vendor. Anyway, stock limit increased from 20 to 99. That's a really good change. Zeiss finally approved something in this patch. Finally, after reading through most of it, maybe like 70% of it. That's awesome. Blizzard is shit. Let me tell you this. If I had anything good to say, I would definitely say it. But unfortunately, for now, this patch is a complete bullshit. It will, in my opinion, further destroy the game. Because they do not focus on the issue at hand. They change whatever the fuck they want and they have no idea what they're doing. Appear as a legendary. Ah. Scroll of Escape will now appear as a legendary. Okay. So they are harder to miss when dropped on the ground. Uh, okay. The chance for scattered prisms to drop when defeating the elite monster has been reduced. Scattered prism can now be acquired from Legion event chests. That's awesome because this will allow you to socket even more. Though I'm not sure if that makes if that's like a significant change because for the entire season I socket only just a couple of items and I always have like thousands of these for whatever reason. So that's I don't know. It won't affect much, I guess. The material cap has been increased further. Yeah, especially that's like 10 times increase. That's good because especially for us people who farm like uh, 10 or 20 hours a day, that could be a significant change. Yeah, mostly because of the rawhide, if you know what I mean. Treasure goblins spawned while fighting avarice now have the same loot potential as normally encountered treasure goblins. And the question here is, why didn't they have this? Why? Why? World Tier 3 and 4 World Boss weekly caches can now drop unique items. Wow! Second thing that Zeiss approves in this patch. I mean, come on, Blizzard, what's wrong with you? I am tired of like defending them or skipping the bad stuff about these guys. Totally. Maybe I gave them the benefit of the doubt like too much, too many chances, and they screwed it up for like more than half a year. I don't know. Okay, the increased cap for the item power on drops from world bosses have been adjusted. Previous plus 100 to min, plus 100 to max. And the new one, so that's a nerf, guys. Plus 65 to min and plus 25 to max. Let's see, world bosses are intended to reward powerful loot for your level. With this change, at a high level, players will see maximum item power gear from world bosses at higher levels. What? Uh, Okay. I will not comment this sentence. The item power ranges for items dropped by endgame bosses such as Varshan. This is not an endgame boss, it's a level 75 boss. It's a late game boss, not an endgame boss. Such as Varshan and Zir, again, have been decreased for rare and legendary items. Why? They were low anyway. Unique, I mean, maybe only Grego had better potential to drop something, but from the maybe 5,000 times I killed them during this season, I think they pretty much never dropped anything useful. It was mostly good item power, but the affixes were complete garbage. Like, I don't know. Unique item power has not been changed. Examples note that the current range for unique items was previously the range for all items. Wow. Version at Woro Tier 3 level 55. Unique item power range 675 to 750. Rare or legendary 650 to 725. Okay. So basically they nerfed the rare and legendary range, and let me tell you why this is not good. Because you have to look for your gear elsewhere. Now the pretty much the drops from these bosses maybe will only count on day one, on your first couple of runs while doing them, because you will have opportunities to get higher item power items on different places, and possibly hope for the good affixes, or at least three of them, so you can spend hundreds and millions of gold trying to get the item you actually want. So what they're trying to tell me here is that even the leveling will be slower. This could possibly account for maybe like 40 minutes to an hour slower leveling because of this change, because you will have to keep farming and farming in order to be able to progress further, especially on hardcore, where you have to make sure whatever you're fighting is, at least initially, no more than 15 levels above you. Otherwise, it will completely obliterate all your defenses. I'm talking armor and resistances, and probably damage reduction will be completely irrelevant. Uh, that's a terrible change, especially if your build does not really depend on that many uniques, because the builds that I'm playing depend on just one unique, and on top of that, not so much depend on just that one unique. Anyway, oh, yet another change which tells me that these guys have no idea what they're doing and how they are hurting the player. Okay, Nightmare Dungeons item power scaling has been adjusted to more consistently drop high item power loot in high tier Nightmare Dungeons. This is good, and they want to keep us doing Nightmare Dungeons. Maybe because they want us to level our glyphs. Okay. This is a good change. This is definitely a good change. Let's see. Monsters at level 100 can drop from 45 instead of 820. Rare. Okay, that's not so bad. Let's see here. Level 125. That's actually a very, very, very good increase. Very good increase. So that's like 70, 72. Yeah, it would make sense. So maybe now, even on day 2, we should mostly rely on nightmare dungeons to get the loot that we need. And probably on world bosses. That's interesting. That's maybe something which I approve. Let's see, all monsters above level 144, Nightmare Dungeon uh, tier 90 plus, now are guaranteed to drop 925 item power gear. Okay, so that's gonna be the new thing to speed farm because of the guaranteed drop. At least we know all those changes were for kind of a good reason, because the dungeons tier 90 plus, they are not so hard, especially if you have like more than 13k armor, have maxed out all the resistances, have damage reduction, and have especially damage reduction from close enemies, no matter if your build is ranged or not, because usually the close enemies are the problem. No matter what build you play and how you play it, something will eventually get to you. And when it gets to you, you have to be able to withstand at least a couple of hits. And believe it or not, if you lack just like 50 to 200 armor, you can take double damage. Especially if it's below 13k. So be careful when speed farming those. Anyway, so that's like the third thing that I like from all this text. Amazing. Okay, let's see the misc changes here. Potion count will no longer be reset after dying. Who cares? We play only hardcore. Being revived by another player. Yeah, sounds like cheating to me, so that's a good change for you softcore guys. The hatred chosen siphon effect is no longer based on lucky hit. Okay, that's really cool again for you softcore guys, because when I walk the fields of hatred, I'm usually alone, no players. And the funny thing is, if you play on console, you need to have the subscription in order to play the fields of hatred. Even to have the grim favors, the whispers from the tree to offer your grim favors. And if you don't have it, you have quite the disadvantage. I mean, if you don't have the subscription to Xbox Gold or PS5, PS Plus, you are kind of handicapped, because those who have access to these areas can gather the boss materials faster when killing the abomination, and they're going to, and after that going to activating the altar. So I don't know. I'm just saying why I don't care about this change. The Greed Shrine effect also now will drop additional gold after the effect expires. Okay, sounds cool. The amount of gold dropped is determined by how many enemies were killed while the shrine buff was active. I wonder why this was not the effect initially, but you know. I'm thinking it would not make a huge difference. Probably it could get you like additional a couple of tens of thousands of gold, which we all very well know has pretty much no significance. Especially when you start crafting, what significance does couple of thousand gold make when one reroll, which is most probably going to be unsuccessful, is costing you like more than 10 million of gold, and you have to do 2 whisper runs just to use the occultist ability to modify your item affix. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be anything significant. Uber unique items can now be unlocked as transmogs. if you care how your character looks, it's probably gonna be a cool thing for you. So if we get them, just go to the blacksmith and destroy your Uber Unique in order to be able to use it as a transmog. Amazing. Okay. User interface and user experience. Let's see what they changed here. New settings have been added to allow navigation in the world with full keyboard controls, including movement using WASD keys instead of your mouse. That's amazing, amazing change for PC players because they can finally move in a different direction from the one they are aiming at. That puts them in again in a significant advantage over controller because on controller you can just swap targets or auto target, which is not as great, especially if you're a skillful player with a very, very high APM and using a mouse. So I'm considering maybe eventually moving to playing on PC. And the other reason is we still don't have mouse and keyboard support for console, and especially for social features, for example, even for boss rotations, when people don't want to use the voice chat, the party voice chat, and nobody wants to type, or just who is going to wait for a player who is on a console to type a message on a virtual keyboard, right? Anyway, I got drifted away. Bonuses from keywords such as berserking now also denote whether any associated damage bonus is additive or multiplicative. Yeah, there are so many problems in this game. I really begin to wonder when are we going to be able to access the full game, right? Event timers are now displayed on the world map. That's awesome. That's like the fourth thing that I like here. Okay. Visual effect for being chilled is now what? Visually increased, probably they want to say, in intensity to denote how close the chilled character is to being frozen. Yeah, that's a good change. Okay. Default button bindings for mount actions have been adjusted to be more intuitive on controller. We'll have to check what this is. We usually use the right arrow, right? Let's see, what will it be now? More intuitive. I don't know. Whatever it is, I can usually do it like with the other hand, with the right hand, while still using the controller to navigate the character, and then using it with the right hand, pressing the right arrow. It's even more comfortable to do it like this, and it's even more comfortable to do this on the Xbox controller, which has the stick and the arrows swapped. But I don't know, maybe they're gonna place it on some R or L. We'll see. Because it's not really a good idea to use it with the other hand, but if you use it with the hand you're using the stick to move with, it could be quite the challenge if you want to keep moving. While with mouse and keyboard, you can just assign a position for the character to move to, and while doing this, with the other hand, press the button to mount. So, I don't know. If I don't like it, I'm probably gonna change it to how it is now. So I can't really comment on this. I hope they know what they're doing, but looks like more than 90% of the time they do anything. Looks like it's in the wrong direction, or something which is not as important as the issue in hand that the players are having. So maybe they need to hire a couple of thousand more people just to communicate with players and better understand what the player wants. And let me tell you, this is a company which has over 30 years of experience. And I will not comment this any further. Oh, okay. Additional stash tab is now available to be purchased in-game with gold. Maximum stash tabs available are now 6. How is this a problem? Maximum stash tabs available are now 6. They still miss the issue in hand. It would have been better to have personal stash tab per character. And the maximum available stash tabs are now 6. That will not make any significant change. If you play more than one class, you're probably going to need at least double or triple this size. Why? Because if you want to, I'm not talking about hoarding here again. I'm not talking about hoarding and keeping everything. I am talking about keeping mostly what you need, or at least something that you could use, while at the same time not getting rid of perfect powers. Especially if you want to try more than one build per class. With the current stash tab space, that's nearly impossible if you want to be able to revert back the change that you did. Let's see how they're going to address this, for example, in Season 12. The icons for the Helltide chest of mysteries and living steel chests have been updated to make them more visually distinctive from the other chest icons. Okay, let's see how this is in game and if it makes any sense. The button for what I have to say about this is that the living steel, which is used to summon Grego, is called Infernal Steel on the map. So I don't know, Blizzard, unify things, please. The button for confirming gold amount to trade interface on controller has been changed to triangle on console. It was triangle before. Okay. This will allow pressing A or X on console to bring up the visual keyboard to manually enter gold amounts when trading. Yeah, I remember that was a problem because there was this player, this friend of mine, who came to my place. We were playing couch co-op, and I had to give him gold. And the only way to do this by pressing the up arrow and waiting for the gold to accumulate, which could take like several minutes. I don't know. It used to be terrible. I'm not using this. I used it like just a couple of times for the reason specified. But yeah, maybe that's a good change. And the other better thing that they could do is just bring mouse and keyboard support to console, because the PC game, the PC version, has mouse and keyboard support whatsoever, right? And it also has controller support, and you can swap between those two back and forth, like in Diablo 2. And you can't do it on the consoles. I don't know what kind of difference does that make. What's so difficult to implement? They already have it in the other clients, right? So, okay, let's move on. We have introduced a new way for players to approach reworking their skill tree. Yeah, that terrible thing that they showed. Players can now refund the whole paths of skill clumps while seeing a preview of it all. Players can also see how many skill points will be refunded to them and how much gold it will cost in advance. Let me tell you when this is going to be useful. This is going to be useful in the first couple of hours of the season only. After that, it can make your head hurt, probably. while trying to respec by swapping the mode back and forth. I think the previous method was better, just pressing a button and reassigning skills real quick, especially if your build requires optimizing for a single target for bossing right before the boss or something like that. I don't know. We'll see how it is in game when it launches. But from what I saw on the developer live stream, I don't think that's really that useful, especially after day one, when people who play a lot will have hundreds and millions of gold already. When this change is kind of insignificant. Developer note. Let's see why they decided to do this, right? The new respec option allows players to easily refund and re-add their skills in a flexible way. Our goal with these what additions is, okay, it's one word instead of two, to make purchasing and refunding nodes less time consuming while encouraging players to experiment more. Well, what would be better is to have like presets for these respecs, so we don't have to do it every time. Let's say blood builds here. Blood builds are, for example, actually a really good example. Let's say you want a speed farm. Let's say you want to do XP grind or glyph XP grind. What you want to do probably is blood surge, iron maiden, and so on and so forth. And when you do bossing, a single target, you want to swap your item with the aspect of untimely death and the blood lance aspect instead of the blood surge aspect, and probably you want to switch your ring or whatever, and you want to respect blood surge to blood lance, and when you kill the boss after 2 seconds, return to how it was. So if they allow us to do presets like this, to like swap them in a button-like fashion, maybe that would be cool. But this, it will probably take people more time to actually realize how this is better than the way it is now. But let's see. Okay, let's move on. Too much time on this. Bug fixes. Accessibility, let's say we care about this. Fixed an issue where the screen reader did not read the quantity of the consumable in the action wheel. That's a good change, especially for people who do really need it. Okay, fixed an issue where subtitles for dialogue and lore books could not be turned off. Sounds like terrible. Sounds like terrible. Fixed an issue where the screen reader could malfunction when repeatedly opening a vendor services menu. Okay. Anyway, gameplay. That's gonna be important here. Fixed an issue where player attacks could still be suppressed when some of their character's body was outside a suppressor field. Okay, I have an idea when this could occur. Probably, say, blighted corpse explosion, right? Let's say the corpse explodes and the blight area spawns. And the only way to deal damage with this blight spawn from the corpse explosion is if you are within the suppressor field, the suppressor bubble. If you go outside, even if the blighted area is there and the suppressor elite is there, it will not take damage. This is a serious disadvantage for the damage over time builds, because the direct damage, the burst damage, what you probably do is go inside the bubble, cast your skills a few times, and the enemy is dead. But with the DOT builds, you have to stick around, and because you do less damage, because it's over time, and it applies different damage based on, say, damage to healthy enemies, damage to injured enemies, damage to enemies affected by damage over time, especially shadow damage over time. And it also depends, for example, on the necromancer. If you have critical strike chance, funny enough, for damage over time effects, it is really important for Shadow Blight because the damage over time skills cannot crit. But Shadow Blight is not a shadow skill, it's a shadow passive, and it can crit. Funny, which again proves that they have no idea what they're doing. Okay, let's see. Fixed an issue where efforts that increased max life, effects that increased max life by a percentage, such an elixir of fortitude, did not account for certain other max life bonuses, such as granted by an affix on equipment. Yeah, especially on jewelry. Especially on jewelry, it did not take it into account. That I remember. Okay, that's a good fix. We'll see about it. Okay. Fixed an issue where the drowned sea hack could spawn an excessive number of minions. I don't remember really this happening, but let's see. We'll probably do a couple of dungeons where she's present, or at least the stronghold on the, what was it, northwest? Let's see. Probably a good change because the water spells, the physical damage she does with this her water spells could be deadly enough, and while having to deal with those minions, I don't know, it could be really hard to beat her. Let's say it could be really hard to beat her initially while you're still leveling, building your character, and if you're running the high nightmare dungeons, which include her, she could be really terrible. Fixed an issue where the Echo of Lilith could still attack the player after being defeated during the second phase of the encounter. Yeah, I've seen this. This is especially the attack she does on the ground. It is similar to the Shadow Spikes, which can one-shot. It's on the second phase. It's not the spikes, but it's something similar. She casts it in like in a three-way, like a trident. Okay, it's like something like it. I believe that's the attack they are talking about, because what I remember is I saw softcore players defeating her and actually die after defeating her from those attacks. Probably that's what this is about. Okay, let's see what it is here. Fixed an issue where the Umbral aspect could grant large amounts of resources when using crowd control skills on structure enemies. What? What? Fixed an issue where various skills and effects such as Devouring Blaze did not consider staggered bosses as crowd controlled. Yeah, that's bad. So I'm glad it's fixed. Fixed an issue where the Butcher could stand in place if the player stood near what's that? A resplendent chest. Okay. We'll see. It reminds me of Diablo 1. Alright, let's keep this guy, Let's talk Necromancer. Fixed an issue where the bonus from the Ring of Starless Skies could get removed when the aspect of Gore Kills was activated. Makes sense. It probably counts it as a reset, as if another type of skill is used, because the lance is not coming from the skill itself, it's from an aspect which triggers the skill. Yeah, and it doesn't count it as the skill itself. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it makes sense as a programmer why it happened. And again, shows how they have no idea what they're doing. Because I remember Bloodlines was very problematic at launch of the game. It was so problematic with this legendary aspect that it was generating such server load that it crashed not only your instance, but all the people who are on the same server. Imagine how buggy Bloodlines was with gore kills. And it still has bugs. And now with this season, they introduce a Bloodlines a unique item. Lucky us. Okay, fixed an issue where Shadow and Bone Mages did not cast Blizzard when the Codebringer aspect was equipped. Yeah, I remember they changed it during the previous or the before previous patch, that now not only Code Mages can cast it if you have this as a legendary aspect. Fixed an issue where Blood Mist could fail to activate while under the effect of a bandit smoke bomb. Well, I can tell you this. Initially, when I used to play with this bullshit skill, it failed to activate on so many occasions, I decided it's actually a irrelevant bullshit skill. It is what it is. Fixed an issue where the splintering aspect would scale more than 2 times when used on a two-handed weapon. What's the problem there? I don't know. How could it scale more than 2 times? Because this is actually how the Bone Necromancer does the damage. It doesn't really matter how much the damage from the initial cast is, because you can hit the enemy up to 8 times per cast, and the important thing is to have in mind the radius of the explosions around the player and where the enemy is. The best thing is to aim for enemies which are between the first and the second explosion and the second and third explosion when the bone splinters return. And it should scale more when it's on two-hander. I don't know how they managed to make it scale more than 2 times. Weird. Let's generally skip those other bullshit classes. Unless they eventually make them good, right? User interface and user experience. Fixed an issue in the season journey menu where hovering over aspects rewarded for completing a chapter of the season journey could sometimes not display the name of the aspect. On console, we have no way to do this because we don't have mouse and keyboard support, so I can't really say anything about this. Fixed an issue where the minimap icon for indicating the stash has new items, i.e. recovered lost items only displayed when close to the stash. Yeah, that's a really useful and good change. Now we don't have to walk to the stash anymore. We would just know. That's a really good change there, if you pay attention to this after all. Fixed an issue where the creatures of night increase had incorrect tooltip. So many incorrect tooltips in this game, my head hurts. Don't these guys just play test or proofread what they're doing? Maybe not. They need 9,000 people more to do this. Fixed an issue where certain stats would not display for all classes in the character details window, such as damage with two-handed slashing weapons would not display for necromancers. And there's also this other thing which does not display. You cannot hover on the armor to actually have an idea how much damage reduction it provides you with. You have to do the math every time, unless you're a PC player, of course. Anyway, fixed an issue where pressing X or square on console would confirm this salvage of a legendary or unique item. What? What's the issue there? Let me think, because when you go to I think it's when I think they're talking about when salvaging items one by one. The dialogue, which asks you if you are sure or not. Okay. Okay, fixed an issue where controller navigation in the vendor buyback menu could malfunction. Never happened to me, so I'm glad someone had this problem. So we, the rest who didn't, could not have it at all. Awesome. Fixed various instances where the minimap was inaccurate. Oh, oh, that's on so many places. I would not want to comment on it because I have nothing good to say. Fixed various instances where quest pins and objectives were inaccurate. Yeah, I have an idea, especially when you pass through an area which is included in the campaign and it has the map obfuscated on purpose. Let's say in Kyrgyzstan, the desert, it's on the northeastern side of Kyrgyzstan, that desert above the dungeon, where you go with Meshiv, the guy from Diablo 2, who is in Act 3, the sailor guy. And that's one of the places probably they are talking about. Okay, quests and dungeons fixed an issue where progression through the flooded depths, a really good one, could get broken if a ladder traversal was skipped with teleport. Yeah, teleport, sorcerer, broken, no problem. Fixed an issue where the Animus Urn in the Bastion of Fate could be skipped by using leap or teleport. Oh, so yeah, I'm guessing this is probably on PC where you can actually target the skill on where to teleport or leap. Don't tell me this happened on a console because I really highly doubt it. Fixed an issue where progression could be blocked in Udur's cave if all enemies were killed before destroying the second barricade. How is this possible when the barricade spawns the enemies? Probably they're talking like if you kill all enemies except the barrier. Probably the barrier does not spawn the enemies. Uh, Used to be a good dungeon. Okay. Fixed an issue where some enemies were not marked on the minimap during the Slay All Enemies objective in Nostrava Deepwood. This used to be one of my favorite dungeons during season, like pre-season and season 1. But not so much after they increased the density of the dungeons. Uh, okay, I'm glad it's solved. It's an issue where elites encountered that transformed from initially harmless. What? Harmless people could respawn after being defeated. Aha. Probably in this. What was this stronghold with the church, with the demons, where the boss is the three demons? Probably there. Or maybe with their new seasonal quest. But why would they share this? I don't know. We'll see. Fixed an issue where the Tomb Lord boss in the shifting city could teleport outside of the boss arena, which would cause the fight to restart. Awesome. Like, how could this even happen? You go there, use the skill maybe no more than 3 times, and this guy dies. Okay, cool. Fixed an issue where there was no healing well in the conclave. Okay, fixed an issue where the battle-hardened Nightmare Dungeon affix could grant damage reduction even if the player was above 90% life. Hmm, that's like you get damage reduction from missing life, kind of thing. Fixed an issue where the sealed penitence cache quest didn't properly grant rewards for completion. Fixed multiple instances where the final straw quest could not be completed properly. Fixed an issue where the quest objective wouldn't update when entering the cellar during the Acts of Atonement quest. Okay, good. And last but not least, Misk fixed an issue where upgrading a damaged item at the blacksmith would further lower the item's durability. Um, I never had this problem. We don't have durability on hardcore because when we die, we don't lose durability, we lose the character. But what do I know? Various stability, visual, and performance improvements. Well, looks like most of the changes here could be summed up right here. Various stability, visual, and performance improvements. Other than that, I believe they did really terrible in this patch, and many of the things I don't really approve, but they have to be play tested to be verified. But at least for now, even at the start, let me show you this again in order to conclude this commentary properly. Look at this. The season is going to start on January 23rd and the patch is going to be in effect on January 24th. Tell me that these people have idea what they're doing. I have nothing else to add. Zeiss out. See you guys on the next live stream or video. Hope you like this and take care.